Welcome to this P6 Scrubber video brochure. P6 Scrubber is a tool built by Emerald Associates that can modify and validate an XER file from an outside source prior to importing it into your Primavera P6 database. When you're dealing with program management, you may have to deal with engineering and construction P6 schedules, but you may not necessarily want those people working directly in your P6 database. So you need to find another way to get those schedules into your environment. Most commonly, this involves importing XERs. But when you do that, you can't always deal with some of the problems that come along with those XERs and then importing those problems into your own clean database. For instance, maybe extra POBS tables or risk types, and maybe even unwanted global data is coming in with those particular XERs. P6 Scrubber helps you avoid polluting your P6 database with that data you don't necessarily want. Data, for instance, like codes, UDFs, and calendars. Sometimes those will come in wrong, or maybe they're built poorly, so you really just can't get a good analysis off of that schedule. Being sure you can verify contractor and engineering schedules is difficult because you can't make sure that all of those schedules are actually comparable. So how can you actually make sure they're providing schedules that are meeting those specifications that you've set out for them? P6 Scrubber is that solution. So let's just take a look at how it works. This is the main page of the P6 Scrubber application. I can automatically go in and I can choose a definition and I can scrub an XER file. It's that easy. However, first I need to create a definition for the P6 Scrubber to use. So if I go in and select a definition or create one, I can create one from scratch. In this case, I'm going to show you one that I've already done. I have some categories along the left that's going to kind of guide me as to where I'm scrubbing this information in. And then there's subcategories. So if I go into this general subcategory under projects, I can see a new window comes up. Each window is very similar. I've got my definition of what's happening with that scrub, as well as an enable or disable button. And then down at the bottom is where I define what I want to scrub. In the general settings, I am scrubbing project ID patterns as well as project ID names if I would like to do that. Simply set up the pattern, test it, and I am ready to run that on my XER file. I have an option for calendars. Calendars can be rolled down from the global level to the project level. So I'm not polluting those global level calendars in my database. I can actually keep them with the project that they belong to. For codes, I have a definition area that lets me decide whether I want to bring in additional codes that I don't have defined. If I don't want that, I can say I want those all scrubbed out of that file. When I define codes, I can define the type, I can decide whether it's required or not, and in this case, since it is an activity code, I'm going to put a scope on that activity code. I can then test the values associated with that code type. I can match a pattern, I can do a list, I can also create some replacement values and descriptions for information that's coming in with that XER. Then the last thing is I can decide whether I want to remove that dirty value that does not comply or whether I want to keep it and bring it in anyway. The same is for UDFs. I can decide what to remove at what subject area level, and I can also define what is valid for my database. Cost accounts, same thing. Have a list, can decide whether I want to remove them or whether I want to keep them if they are additional. Once I have my scrubber definition saved and defined, of course, I can go out and choose that definition and run it against an XER or several XERs if that's the case. So I'm going to select the XER I want that scrubber definition to be run against and process that scrub. I'm going to get some results, and the first thing I want to do is look at my report. So if I click the report, it's going to open up an HTML report, and at the top I have some basic summary information about what happened during the scrub, what was contained in the scrub. As I scroll down, I can get some more detailed information on each scrub, including what was defined in my definition, as well as my results of the scrubber running those definitions against my XER. Now, when I'm done looking at that, I can download my results. And I have two options with my results. I can get that HTML report and maybe send that back to my contractor. Maybe I'm not ready to accept that XER as it is. This report is going to help them see where they have done well and met your criteria, and if they have somewhere they need to improve that particular XER so that you will accept it. Otherwise, I get a clean XER that's been appended that I can import into my P6 database. It's all clean and it's ready to come in. Now, I have come over to P6 and I have already imported a clean file or project in this case that has been scrubbed. I can see is the second one here, and I can see that I have a notebook topic that has been created with the same report that we just looked at. So it's going to be maintained with this particular project when it comes in, and so that you can see all that was done. I also have indicators that have been set at the project level as well as the activity level that's telling me what has occurred with that scrub. Did it pass? Was it something wrong with it? And I can easily see that by the indicator. Now I have both the original and the scrubbed file open, so I can see here that I have a value in my work type code that was not valid, and I chose to remove it. So it is removed in my scrubbed file. I can also see the UDFs that I was working with, as well as my cost accounts. The last place I can look are in my resources. So I've received a new resource that has the company code validated and defined like I wanted it to be, as well as a project number UDF that has been validated and is acceptable. So very easy to set up those definitions, and then of course use that definition to scrub the XERs. And you can set up, again, more than one definition. So let's look at some of the benefits that you're going to get by using P6 Scrubber on your XERs prior to import. First of all, it's very easy to use. The configuration is easy to step through. You can copy and paste from your actual Primavera system into those definitions, and it's automatically going to flag and report exactly what it found so that you can see, do I want to import it? Do I not want to import it? I can also give my contractors feedback in a small amount